For centuries, human tradition has maintained a clear boundary between ourselves and the rest of the natural world. We pointed to our ability to speak as the ultimate evidence of our superiority, a gift that supposedly placed us on a different plane of existence than the animals around us. This sense of isolation found a powerful advocate in the linguist Noam Chomsky. He proposed that human language requires highly specialized brain structures, suggesting our grammar learning ability was a sudden genetic mutation exclusive to our species. Charles Darwin took a different view, grounded in the slow, continuous movement of evolution. He recognized nature rarely produces sudden leaps. Every magnificent trait, from a bird's flight to the human voice, is preceded by earlier, less perfect versions. Modern genetics supports this idea of continuity. DNA analysis shows that we are 98% identical to chimpanzees at the molecular level. Even the domestic dog, an animal that appears so different from us, shares over 90% of our genetic sequence. These deep genetic ties suggest that human speech belongs on the same evolutionary highway as the rest of the animal kingdom. Rather than a spontaneous miracle, our language likely emerged from a long, unbroken series of developmental stages shared with the creatures around us. When we define language as a system for communicating vital information, we find that the animal world is full of conversation. From the rhythmic chirping of crickets to the light pulses of fireflies, every species utilizes signals to navigate its environment. Ethologist Carl von Frisch earned a Nobel Prize for demonstrating just how sophisticated these signals can be by decoding the complex movements of the honeybee. Honeybees use a figure-8 waggle dance to share food locations. Speed and body orientation act as a precise data transmission, detailing exactly where to find nectar. This functions as a live topological map, allowing other bees to navigate to distant food sources with incredible accuracy. These mapped communication systems prove that complex signaling is widespread in nature. Human speech sits at the end of this spectrum, representing a more mechanically elaborate version of the same survival-driven communication found in insects and mammals. Animals possess the drive to communicate, yet they are often limited by the specific physical design of their bodies. Producing the controlled sounds of a human language requires a highly specialized anatomical arrangement. This anatomical diagram highlights the unique structure of the human throat. Walking upright caused our respiratory path to develop a 90-degree curve, creating space for the larynx to sit much lower than it does in other mammals. This geometric shift created two distinct resonating chambers. By utilizing a large, round tongue within this space, humans gained the ability to shape air into the distinct vowels, like ah, e, and oo, that form the building blocks of speech. A dog's anatomy is prioritized for a different purpose. Their flat tongues and a respiratory system designed to breathe and sniff simultaneously while running make it physically impossible for them to articulate human words. The canine airway is a masterpiece of scent tracking. For a predator that survives by following a trail, the ability to sniff and move at high speeds is an essential trade-off, even if it precludes the vocal flexibility humans possess. Roughly 100,000 years ago, our ancestors looked quite different. Early hominids, like the Neanderthals, possessed heavy, rigid snouts and facial structures that were still deeply connected to their own sense of smell. Researcher Philip Lieberman found that these rigid facial structures were paired with an underdeveloped vocal tract. Because their anatomy was still focused on the physical requirements at a scent-based tracker, their capacity for complex vocalization remained limited. This began to change when early humans formed a survival alliance with the ancestors of modern dogs, a partnership that occurred earlier than believed. By partnering with canines, humans began to rely on the dog's superior nasal capabilities to locate prey and detect danger. We effectively delegated the work of tracking to our new partners. Relieving the human face of its role as a primary scent organ altered the evolutionary path of our anatomy. This partnership created a new environment where our facial structures could begin to move away from the rigid requirements of a tracker. With dogs hunting for us, the need for a heavy, scent-focused muzzle decreased. Our faces became flatter and jaws more compact. This made our facial muscles pliable and our lips mobile, granting the fine-tuned motor control to articulate the complex sounds of modern speech. Neanderthals, who lacked this partnership with dogs, maintained facial structures that remained more rigid and scent-focused. While our ancestors were developing the vocal flexibility to coordinate in large groups, Neanderthals remained limited by an older anatomical design. This newfound vocal flexibility gave Homo sapiens a massive advantage. We used speech to organize tribes, share detailed information about the future, and pass down the knowledge that allowed us to dominate our environment. Our most celebrated trait, the human voice, did not develop in a vacuum. It was a co-evolutionary process, catalyzed by an alliance that allowed us to find our words only after we found our dogs.